Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me to another Saturday with Power Query. My name is Alejandra Horvat, and I'm very happy that you are here with me. Today is recorded though. Today I want to bring you an updated version of a technique that I showed you a few months ago on how to filter information using a list in Excel. So we have learned so many techniques since then that I want to incorporate those techniques that we have learned into that example. So without further ado, let me show you what the goal is today. So here I have the list of the accounts that I want to filter my information by. Here I have the information for the year, the account names, which include salaries and hourly, which are included in my list here, and I have my grand total. Let's say here on sheet 2, I have the list of all my accounts, and those accounts will have the account category as well. So for me, it's going to be easier just to select those accounts that I want because they belong to a category. Or even I can select only one account and put it on my list and ready to go. So let's say I'm going to copy all the accounts that are part of the materials and equipment category. So I'm going to select Control C. I'm going to go to sheet 1 and I'm going to paste that on top where it says salaries. So I'm going to say Control V. Now I have many more options. I'm going to go to my pivot table. I still have salaries and hourly. I'm going to right click and I'm going to refresh. So now you can see that we have those account names here in our pivot table. And why do I do this? Well, I was working with a team who was finding a little bit hard to find all the items that they needed to have in the pivot table, find it in the list that we have here in the filter. And also, they couldn't see right away which account names belong to a specific category until we use Power Query. So that's why I thought in sharing that with you as well. So let's say in this case, I have just a few items, but the team that I was working with had quite a bit of a long list of items. So for that reason, it made sense to apply this technique. So today we're going to work with nested tables, list buffer, and merging queries. Okay. So now that you see what we're looking for, we are gonna start with a blank workbook. So I can just press Control N or I have the icon here on the top. And here is my my blank workbook. Let me show you the files very quickly. Here on the desktop, I have my folder, Demo 2023, April 22nd. I have a folder Actuals. I also have a file that is called the tables. I'm gonna open that first. And it's my dimensional table where I have the account number, my account name, and my account category. And let me bring the other files. I'm going to go to Actuals. And I'm going to bring 2018 to 2021. I'm going to open. Something very important to note here is that all the files have on column 1 the information related to the department. The other columns have different order. Some of them may have the province as second column and then the account code and then the year at the end, or it doesn't matter. What it really matters is that the first column will have the department. And that is because the technique that we're going to use today is going to point to the column 1. Okay, so in this case, it's column B, but in Power Query, you will see that it will be column 1. So this is file 2020. I'm going to press Control down so we can see how long our range of information is, and it has 11,343 rows. I'm going to go to the top, Control a row. And you can see that we have 2 rows before the titles of these columns. And in this case, we have a text at the first row. So this is going to come in Power Query, of course, as part of this information, as part of a table. Power Query will convert this into a table. So keep that in mind. So 2020, I'm going to close that. I have 2019 here. I don't have any spaces or I don't have any rows on top of these column names. And here I have the account number in the second column and then province, etc. Okay, I'm going to close 2019. 2018 has two rows with text on top of the column names, and I'm going to close this, and this is 2021, and I have text, and I have empty rows, and then text again, and then the column names. Okay, so I'm going to close this. And one thing with the other files is that the files don't have the account name. Let me just open one. You will notice that I don't have account name, but I have account code. That's why we need the dimensional table, because I need to connect these files through these columns, this column account code. So I'm going to close this. This is the account code will match with the account number, and that's how we're going to get the account name. Keep in mind that the dimensional table doesn't have any duplicated items. There is only one ACC 001, 1002, and so on and so forth. So very, very important when we're working with dimensional tables. When we're working with fact tables, which could be my other files, the 2018, 19, 20, 20, 21, those are fact tables. Those ones can have account 0001 several times, but the dimensional table cannot have duplicates, duplicate values. Okay, so I'm going to close this and I go back to my new workbook. And the first thing that I'm going to do, I shouldn't close my dimensional table. Let me open that again. What is that here? And that is because I want to bring this list with the account name and the account category, because as I show you in the example or in the solve file, I want to make sure that I have that information handy when I need to copy and paste the account names to my list in Excel. So here I'm just gonna do this very quickly. Let me delete the first row, Control minus to delete the whole row. And let me just zoom in. Perfect. This is the account name, the account category. Perfect. I'm gonna go to sheet 1, and here is what I'm gonna create my list. And this is gonna be account name. Let me put this one correct here, account name. And what I'm gonna do, let's say I'm gonna just bring a couple of items, a few items here. Let's say I'm gonna bring all the salaries and benefit, Control C, and I'm gonna paste that here. Excellent. I'm gonna put this in bold, account name. And this one, I'm gonna say Control T to convert into a table. I'm gonna say, okay. Now that I have my table, I'm gonna say table design, and this is gonna be account filter. I'm gonna press enter. Now that I have my table, this is gonna be the list. We're gonna convert this into a list in Power Query. So now that I have this, I can bring this to Power Query because this is the one that is gonna be controlling the information that we are gonna bring to our pivot table. So I'm gonna right click and select get data from table range, or if you have a different version, Excel version, I have Microsoft 365. So just go to data and look for from table range. I'm gonna click there and the Power Query editor will open right here, Control C plus to zoom in. I don't need the change type. I'm gonna delete this step. I'm gonna just keep the source. I don't need to change any data type. I'm fine with this information as is. As I said, I need to convert this into a list. And remember that to convert this into a list, we are just gonna have a projection here, which I'm gonna open one set of square brackets, and I'm gonna put the name of the column right here. In this case, I only have one column, but there are times when we have tables with many more columns. So when you want to keep specific columns, you provide a double set of square brackets. When you want to convert a column into a list, you provide one set of square brackets and then the name of the column. Okay, I'm gonna press enter, and sure enough, we have a list right here. The next thing that I'm gonna do, I'm gonna bring the files, actually the folder with the files. So I'm gonna right click, new query, file, folder. And I'm gonna go to desktop, demo April 2022, and my folder is called actuals. I'm gonna double click there. That is where all my files with the actuals are in. So I'm gonna say open. Here we will see we have the content of that folder, the 4 files that I show you. I'm gonna click to transform data. And this is the source. This is correct. This is as binary. And one thing that I need to do, I would like to do, is to prevent errors. So let's filter this column name. And let's say that we don't want that the files start with the teal, that wave, that teal at the beginning or on front of the name of the file, that will bring open files. So in this case, we close all the files, but if we had one open, we will have that file as an additional line here with the teal and the dollar sign in front of the name of the file. Okay, so for that reason, I'm gonna click here on the row for the filter just beside name, and I'm gonna say text filters does not begin with and does not begin with that teal right here. And also I'm gonna click at advanced because I want that the extension is always XLSX. So I'm gonna change the name of the column. I'm gonna select extension and I'm gonna say equals XLSX. And I'm gonna say okay. Of course, it's empty. And this is because the extension equals XLXX and it doesn't equal that. It equals dot XLXX. I can press enter and you can see that it's there, but I don't want this filter as is. I want to say that the text contains XLXX. So I'm going to modify the filter because I didn't select it properly. So I'm going to say equal text contains this one, open parentheses, the text is coming from my column extension, comma, and what is that text that I want that includes? It needs to include XLXX. And let's say for any reason, I give a capital X at the end, and I close the parentheses for the table select rows, and I press enter. Of course, it's gonna give me an empty table, and that is because Power Query is case sensitive. To avoid this issue, after this XLSX, I'm gonna provide the comma and I'm gonna use the last parameter that this function has, which is the compare ordinal ignore case. So I'm gonna go to the enter and now it's ignoring there is a capital letter here and everything else is a lowercase. As long as the text in this column includes XLSX, then it will bring the information. Excellent. That is my first step. I'm done. I'm going to rename this step as filter. Enter. Excellent. Okay, next step. Let's transform the information on the column content. So we are going to go and create a new step. I'm going to click at the FX on the formula bar. And I'm going to say table, transform columns. Columns. Right here, open parentheses to the table that is coming from the previous step, comma. What is the operation? The transform operations as list. So I need to provide the curly brackets, and that is gonna say that I want to transform the column content, close quotation mark, comma, which is the operation that I want to perform there, and I need to provide the keyword to say, please process the following. And I'm gonna say Excel workbook. Open parentheses, and I want to provide that information as binary, which is included in this column content. And I need Power Query to look at every single line on this column. That's why I'm providing the underscore. I go to the end and I provide the closing parentheses for the table transform column and I press enter. Now you can see that doesn't say binary, it says table. Perfect. I just want to keep this column content. Now let's do a projection here and let's do it for a column. So I'm going to provide the double square bracket, and I'm going to provide the name of that column. Okay, let me move this, Shift Enter, and perfect. I'm going to press Enter, and then I keep only the column content. I'm going to click at these two arrows to expand the information that is here, because inside of this table, I need to bring only the information that is coming from the data column, that is the one that has all the tables. So I'm going to say, okay, perfect. I'm going to click beside table on the white part, and then I can see the content of my tables, which is the information that I showed you at the beginning. Perfect. This is what I want. Next thing that I need to do, I want to transform all of these files because I want to remove everything that doesn't belong to the column headers. So I want to keep the column titles as the first line and then promote that as a header. Okay. So let me create a new step. Oh, before I create a new step here, I'm going to say just expand it. And what was this custom one? This one was Excel Works. Okay, excellent. I'm going to create a new step to transform the tables that I have here on my column data. So I'm going to click at FX and I'm going to say equal transform columns. Right here, open parentheses. The table is coming from our previous step, and I need to provide the transform operation as a list. The name of the column will be data. We want to transform that column. And I'm going to say each. What do I want to do there? I want to skip. I don't want to keep anything that is above the column names. So I'm going to say table skip. Right here, open parentheses, the tables are coming from every single line of my column data. So for that reason, I provide the underscore. And what is the condition that this needs to meet? I'm going to say column 1. That's why it was very important to point out that every single file will have the department information on the first column. So I want to remove anything that is not equal to department. Once you find department, then stop deleting and keep that information. So I'm gonna press enter. Now I can expand. So you can see here the whole code. Table transform columns to the table that is coming from the previous step. I'm gonna transform the column data, and I want to process the following. I want to remove anything that is on these tables inside of this column data, every single one. I want to process the following. I want to remove everything that is on column 1 that doesn't say department, that doesn't have the word department. Once you find that word, stop removing and keep that information. Okay. So now if I click here on the right from every single table, you can see that every single table starts with the column names. Let's promote that first line as headers, and we're gonna do it in this way. After my each, here I'm gonna press Shift Enter, and I'm gonna do a nested let. I'm finding that very useful. So I'm gonna say I need to provide a variable there, and that will be my first variable, which is the table that we're seeing just right here. And I'm gonna have my in, that's my only variable. So I'm gonna say Shift Enter. And my result, what do I want as a result? Well, I want to say table, promote headers, open parentheses, to my table that is coming from my previous step, which is my variable A. I'm gonna go to the end and I'm gonna press enter and let's see what happens. Excellent. Now we have all our tables with the proper headers. You can see. Excellent. Perfect. Can show you the code again. The only thing that I did, I just added a nested let and in. I provided the variable. Once we have that, we have all the column names on the first line, and then we can do is promote headers. I could have done this as part of the function as it was before. Let's say I could have said here each, I could have kept table skip, and instead of the in, remove that in, I'm gonna remove this table promote headers, and let me see. And instead of that, I could have grabbed this information or this function, table promote headers. Let me move this one down, Shift Enter, right? So I'm having this table promote headers, and inside of that, I will have the table, and then I will close the parentheses. Do I have an extra? No, perfect. It will give me exactly the same information, but I noticed that with the nested let and in, really makes a big difference how we perceive the code. So for that reason, I am trying to use them as much as possible. So I'm going to press escape so I can get the code as it was before. So I just find it a little bit easier to read. It's a little bit easier to see what I'm doing while I'm preparing my query. Okay, it's up to you. It's just my preference at this time. Okay, excellent. Well, now that I have this information, the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to combine all the tables. This is very simple example. My focus will be on how to filter the information through the list, right? So once I'm here, I'm going to create a new step. Fx, I'm going to say equal table combine, and I haven't been renaming my steps properly, but remember you to do that. So at the end, I'm going to provide the name of the column here in one set of square brackets, because for table combine, I need to provide the tables as a list. So I'm going to go to the end, press enter, and now I have all my tables combined in only one big table. You can see if I click at year, even though you can see 2018 only, I'm going to say load more. And now you can see that we have 2018 to 2021. Perfect. Okay, now the next thing that we need to do is to merge this with our theme table. So I'm going to right click on the white side, new query, file, Excel workbook. I'm going to go to this folder. Oh, I'm right there. Demo 2023, April 22nd. And I'm going to bring theme tables. Double click there. And we have the content of that file, which is the file, the table, and the sheet. I want to bring the table. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to select transform data. I have that table here. Power Query created a few steps for me. I don't want to change the data type. I don't need it. I'm going to keep only up to the navigation step. And what Power Query is doing here is just bringing the table name account, and that information is from my column data from the previous step. So I'm going to go to my previous step, which is source. You can see that I have the name of two items. The name of the table is account, and the kind is table from the column data, which is this table that we have here. Perfect. So I'm going to go to my navigation. Perfect. That is what I'm seeing here. Now I'm going to go back to my query actuals. And I'm going to move that one down, and I'm going to rename it. And I'm going to just call this solve. The next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to merge this query with the account query. Here on my home tab, I'm going to select merge queries, and I'm going to click at the row and select merge queries. I want to merge the queries on the table, on the query that I'm seeing right now. I don't want to create a new query. I just want to use the current query and add the information that is coming from my other table or my other query. So here I'm going to select which query I'm going to merge with, and it will be the query account. I can see that I can connect these two queries through the column account code and account number. I'm going to select both, and I'm going to leave the left outer. That is exactly what I want, and I'm going to say I want to keep all the items on the left and just bring the information that is coming from the other query on the new column here. is called accounts, which has the name of the query. Click at those two rows facing opposite sides, and I want to remove this. The only thing that I want to bring for this example will be account name. I have the account number and I don't need the account category right now. So I'm going to say, okay, I have merged this information. I'm ready to filter this by my list here. So I'm going to go to my query solved. And I'm going to just create a step here, or I can create that manually. Let me create that manually. I'm going to click at FX. Oh, let me rename my last step, expanded account. I'm going to say expanded, just ACC. Perfect. My last step now is my new step. After the equal, I'm going to say table select. If you don't want to do it manually, you just can select the item from one item from the filter. But in my case, I like to do it manually. Table select rows, open parentheses, the table that is coming from the previous step, comma, which is the condition. I'm going to say first each, please process the following. And I'm going to say that I want to use the list account filter. So I'm going to say list contains, open parentheses, I need to provide the list. The list will be account filter, ACC filter. That is my list, comma. And I want that the value comes from my column and square bracket account name. That is the value. The value will come from there, close parentheses, and I'm going to press enter. Now you will notice here I have salaries, benefits, hourly. So I'm going to go to solve. As you can see, it takes time to filter, and that is because it's evaluating every single item. So let me go to my last column, check out the filter. I'm gonna load more, and it's gonna take time even to load this. So it takes a little bit of time, even just to go, as you can see, it's checking on the file 2020. It will start checking now in the file 2021. So this technique can take quite a bit of time if we don't use list buffer. Okay, perfect. I can see now that the only items that I have in the list are exactly the items that I have on my list account filter. Perfect. I'm going to cancel this. The process can be slow, right? And my files only have 11,000 rows, every single file. My list is not that long, right? My dim table that is called account is not that long either. So, and it's taking time. So what we're going to do, what we learned last week, I'm going to go to view, advanced editor, and I'm going to use the list buffer function. Control C plus to zoom in. After my first let, I'm going to press enter. I'm going to provide a, say equal, and I'm going to say list buffer. Open parentheses. I'm going to go to my last step. This is my list, right? Account filter. Control X. And I'm going to replace that with the A because the value from my variable A is what I will be looking for. So I'm going to paste inside of my parentheses here. I'm going to paste that ACC filter. I'm going to go to the end and provide comma. Here is my list buffer. That is the value of my variable A. My variable A is here now. So I'm going to say done. And now you will see if I go one step before this and then one step after, it finished. If I go here to check the filter and I say load more, it finished. That fast, that quick did work. Let's try with another column. I click here at the filter year, I say load more, and now immediately brings all the years. Let's say well, amount is gonna be that's gonna be long, right? I go with province because the amounts can be totally different. But let's go with province. Click there and load more, and it just finished the process. Way different, much useful in this way. Remember that list buffer will keep the information of your list in memory. Perfect. Ready to pass this to Excel? I'm gonna go home, close and load to. And this is too big. Well, first I'm gonna click at only create connection. I'm gonna say okay. Let me just make this a little bit smaller. Perfect. Now that I brought this information as a connection only, now I can select the query that I can really, I want to load into my sheet. Right click at solved. I'm going to say load to, and I'm going to say pivot table report here on the two. Okay, perfect. I can build my pivot table now. I'm going to say year. The year, I'm going to put it on the rows. I'm going to say account name on the columns, so it's easier to see. And I'm going to say the amount right over here. If I want to include the department after the year, let's say, I can do this as well. Right click inside of the any of the numbers and click number format, number, use thousand separators, 0 decimals. I'm going to say, okay, perfect. I like this better. And also I like design and report layout, show tabular form. Excellent. And I'm going to go here, view and remove the grid lines. It just looks a little bit cleaner to me. Okay. Now I have, I'm going to hide this part here. Now I have my pivot table with these items. I can remove, let's say, the last 3 items. I'm going to press Control minus so I can remove the 2 rows from the table. You can see that the table ends with this little triangle here, right here. So that is the end of the table. Excellent. Now I'm going to go to my sheet 2 where I copy my list with all the accounts. And now I'm going to bring the accounts that belong to utilities, to that category. So I'm going to say Control C. I'm going to go to sheet 1. On top of salaries, if you want to keep salary and hourly, you can copy that information under. Oh, actually, I didn't show you when I remove the three items under hourly. I right click and click refresh, and then the pivot table brings only the information that I have in this list. Now let's do what I was going to do. Here I'm going to Control C the accounts that belong to utilities. I'm going to say on top of salaries, I'm going to say Control V. Now I have more items, right? I'm going to my pivot table, right click, and I'm going to refresh. Done. I have only the account names that belong to my category utilities. Excellent. That easy, that fast, and that reliable the information is. The key here is to apply the list buffer. Well, that's all that I had for you today. I hope you found this information useful. If you like it, please give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Also, share it with anybody that you believe can benefit from it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.